Hi, Janelle.
Hey again. Good to see you.
I know, so fun to see you each week and have these conversations with you.
We're back. We're back post spring break. The sun
Oh,
is out.
I'm so happy that the sun is out in Vancouver for you and
Oh.
all my friends there.
Yes, I think everyone's been praying for us. I'm pretty sure most of the month of March it rained, like almost every day.
Yeah, I definitely don't miss that. One day of rain yesterday, and I was like, ugh, binge watching Bad Sisters. I
Yeah.
couldn't. I think we made our bed like at 6 p.m.
Yeah, yeah, just getting ready for the day.
I know. Uh,
So
anyway.
what's been going on with you?
What has been going on? Well, getting ready to go to Toronto
Mm.
in a couple days to help Blanca move out of her apartment, and she'll be down here. She's looking for a job now. So that's
Mm.
exciting. And yeah, how was your spring break home alone?
Oh my gosh. I was just telling someone about it yesterday because someone asked, what did we do for spring break? Was we get 2 weeks off here in Vancouver. So, you can plan something out and go do something epic if you want. And so I was telling him that my husband and the kids, they went on a trip to go visit some of my husband's family. And then they went to California to meet up with some of my husband's friends and their families. So they were gone for a little over a week, and I told him, I said, but I stayed home. I stayed home and I relaxed and I worked on a few things for work and just had fun watching Netflix. And he had asked, he's like, "Oh, were you bored being home by yourself?" And I said, "Oh no,
Does this person have kids?
you really don't know me.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
You're
No party
probably just an
time.
acquaintance." He said it was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I loved it. I watched a lot of K-dramas that I've been wanting to get through because they're quite an investment of time, and I love them though. So I had time to do that. I had time to write my newsletters and it was so quiet. We had some big thunderstorms and rainstorms, but when I can just be in the house and listen to it, I actually kind of enjoy it. So yeah, I had a great time. And then now the family's back and the house is a mess and I'm busy driving the kids everywhere. So we're back to the grind of life. But I had a good break. I had a really
Oh,
nice break.
I'm so happy you did that. I'm so happy you had space and time for yourself.
It was amazing. Yeah, I highly recommend it. I recommend everyone take some time alone because it was kind of like my own little mini silent retreat,
I
because it was
bet.
just me in the house, and
Yeah.
there were certainly days where I didn't say anything. I was like completely silent all day, but it's very cathartic, I think.
Mhm. I love
Hmm.
it. I mean, Scott's at the gym right now, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Although I find myself talking to Spike a lot.
Yes. 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 I do that too, because we have two dogs. So I
Yeah.
do it's the usual. Are you hungry? You need to go
No.
outside.
Oh my gosh, I am constantly hungry. Speaking of hunger, yeah, I am like constantly hungry, but we'll save that for another conversation.
Okay. I want to hear about that.
I know we want to talk about women and
Hmm.
this perception of like women doing it all, having it all. What does success look like?
Hmm.
I was inspired by your share earlier this morning on LinkedIn about the
Hmm.
cost of that, right? Of
Yes.
being this successful career woman as a mother, as a partner, all of the roles that we play.
Hmm. Yeah. I that post that I had reshared, it was, someone else's post talking about a quote unquote success story of a woman who worked really, really hard and then sold her business and is making like, billions of dollars. And and what the author of the post was asking is, at what cost, do we celebrate this because it's a great, financial win for this woman and a great story of business success. And, behind the scenes that had to have been a lot of work, and in the deepest sense, just a lot of sacrifice probably. And so it really got me thinking because I've asked myself that throughout my career, because I think that I had very specific eras of my career. I had the, starting out era when I was, still single, no family, and excited to prove myself kind of thing. And then I had the era where my career started to accelerate really quickly and I got married and then we started a family. And so there's that period before kids where I was on a lot of high profile projects at work. I was working at Nike at the time, and I was on all these side projects in addition to my normal job. And my job was going well. I was getting promotions and changing roles quite often. And then I had my first child, and there was a natural um, slowing down of just life, when you have a child. But then also this starting to ask myself as I was balancing being a working mom and a career-driven person, I think I started to question, what, how do you handle this? There was a point where, we have three kids. So I had the three kids kind of in a row. And I started to see that the pace of my career was starting to affect my ability to be a present mother and to be there for the kids when they had questions and when they wanted to do a little impromptu theater show in the living room and when they wanted to ask 50 questions about space. So at that point, I knew I needed to change something, and so that's when we moved to Canada, actually. When I kind of restarted my career at Lululemon and set some new boundaries and set a new lifestyle and intentionally focused on the kids a bit more. Um, but then my career picked up again, and I got back into the groove and started to grow in my career and was traveling again for work. And then naturally there was another point where the kids needed time with me and my husband, and so stepped back from work. But all that to say, I could have I could have done things differently. I could have made different decisions. I could have really, accelerated my career even quicker than how it unfolded. I could have taken opportunities overseas, moved the family overseas. I could have done a lot of different things, but I intentionally looked at my life holistically and ensured that I was balancing the various priorities in my life, the things that mattered to me. So career has mattered to me. And I realized once I had kids that my career wasn't as important to me as my family. Like I made that choice. I had that realization. And my kids right now are still like high school and middle school age. And so maybe things will change when they're completely out of the house. And maybe there will be a different balance of priorities. But for now, and still, but even early on, I knew that my career growth wasn't going to be at the expense of my family or at the expense of some other things that were important to me, like balance and travel. And so I think as women, and particularly parent, working parents like you and I, we have kids. I think we face these big questions throughout our careers. And I will never say that someone made the wrong choices per se. Like I wouldn't judge someone for making the choices they make. But as women, we have some difficult choices to make, I think, a lot of the time when it comes to our goals and aspirations and our career aspirations, particularly. And the sometimes unseen costs of our ambition. So
Absolutely.
when I posted that this morning, I was hoping that it would create some discussion, but also just some internal thinking for anyone that read it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does success mean to me? And what does success look like? And what am I willing to sacrifice? And what am I not willing to sacrifice? And what is my definition of success,
Mm-hmm.
instead of maybe society's definition or Harvard Business Review's definition of success? Because I
Yeah.
think that's the important thing we all have to answer for ourselves is what's our definition of success?
I feel like we're obsessed with the outcome as a
Mm-hmm.
culture, and we don't really look at the process in which somebody had to go through or their journey to get to that outcome. Like
Mm-hmm.
that woman who sold her company for billions of dollars. What was the
Yeah.
process? I would imagine that she was up all night. I mean, there's a cost, like you just talked about, with putting so much emphasis and attention on your career. And who
Mm-hmm.
knows? I mean, maybe she was able to do it all. I have no idea. Maybe she was able to do it all well. I know that there were moments in my career when I would say yes to the trip or say yes to the later hours, and I wasn't there for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that I felt like I wasn't even meeting the baseline standard of being a present mom. Like I wasn't physically present, right? So how could
Yeah.
I even cultivate presence? Because I wasn't even there
You weren't there
half
at
the
all.
time. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for like a couple of years, I was traveling so much. And I remember when I'd be home, it was also just long work hours too. And there was a friend that the girls had over.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't cooking dinner. I wasn't making dinners when I was working a lot. So
That wasn't in your schedule.
no, I can't cook. So I remember just opening a bag of popcorn, and I think it was like cucumbers and miso as a dip. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, here's some veggies, here's some popcorn. And the friend was like, "Oh my gosh, is this what dinner is? This is so fun. I love dinner at your house." But my girls were so over it because it wasn't a anomaly. Oh, popcorn and cucumbers and miso. It was
Yeah.
like, no, this is regular. And
Yeah.
then Scott would like throw on a quesadilla because he was working too.
Yeah.
And I remember they went over to our neighbor's house one time. It was like midweek. And they came back and I said, "Oh my gosh, did you have dinner?" She goes, "Yes. Bella's mom made a roast." And I was like,
Wait,
"Oh,
wait, wait. Was this just like a normal Tuesday or was it like
like,
Easter?
yeah, I know." I'm like, first of all, I don't even know what a roast is. Is that like a roast ham? What's a roast? Yeah, it was like a Tuesday. I'm like, if I'm gonna make a roast, it's
That's a
gonna be
holiday. That's a
right.
holiday meal right there.
It's like a Christmas dinner.
Hmm.
I'm going to
Hmm.
need to take time off to make that. But this mom, I mean, she was also a full-time working mom, and she made a roast on a random Tuesday, fed my
Wow.
daughters. And I was so
Wow.
grateful to her. But at the same time, it fed that story again
Yes.
of like, I'm not able to do all this
Yeah. Yeah.
well.
Well, just recently, because my husband's been traveling quite a bit for work. And so when he's gone, because he does all the cooking in this house, when he's gone, and mom's in charge of dinner. I'm also just a bunch of snacks. Like I could just have charcuterie. And I mean the term charcuterie very loosely. Like anything just scattered on the plate is charcuterie. It's
Okay.
not
See,
like
I'm
not
imagining
like
like,
sliced meats and olives and cheese. No, it's like I mean I'll make a McDonald's platter sometimes where I'll just buy a bunch of McDonald's, put it all out on the platter. And I'm like, it's McDonald's platter tonight,
I
for
love
dinner.
it.
But anyway, it's just snacking all the time
Yeah.
is the meal when I'm around. And this was just like last month. The kids were like, at one point, one of them said, Mom, can we have a real dinner tonight? I was sitting there thinking, what's a real dinner? Like I
Yeah.
thought we have been having a real dinner.
Oh my gosh, your kids sound just like my kids. I
Yeah.
mean, when I stopped working, it became my mission to make elaborate dinners for Gabby. And I felt bad. Blanca was already in Toronto. She was having, her school university life. But I thought, okay, I have a few months. I have 3 months because I left Fan City April of last year.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
had a few months of Gabby's senior year to cook for
Yeah.
her.
Did
So
you
every
make
day,
some meals?
oh my gosh, Janelle, I was like, what do you want for dinner tonight? I would drive her to school, which I
Yeah.
hardly ever did. She was
Yeah.
taking the bus when she was, I think, 9. I'm like, bye, see you later. But anyway, then I was like, sure, I'll drive you as a 17-year-old. I'm like, what would you like for dinner? And she's like, I'm thinking some salmon. And I'd
Mhm.
love to have a carb too, maybe rice or polenta or something, and a roasted vegetable. Like, deal. So I'd go to Whole Foods.
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
can picture it.
the
Yeah.
things. I would try to plate it beautifully for her. And it was like me making up for all those years of popcorn
Mhm.
and cucumber.
I could go and get a bag of popcorn. I mean, we went to the movies on Saturday and I still have the popcorn from it because one, the stuff is so dang expensive. I'm not going to waste any of it. Two, it's so good even days later. So we have a
Really?
bag of movie theater popcorn in the pantry right now.
I'm not
And
sure if that's
the
still
kids
good, Janelle. Like, it's like,
my husband always questions my decisions about leaving food out too. Like I leave things out overnight and I'm like,
yeah.
it's fine. And Carl's always like, I don't think it is. And I was like, I'll still eat it. Like just don't throw it away. I'll eat it. It's okay.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Oh my gosh. So for me, I feel like popcorn, once the bag is open, I have to finish it.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's a good strategy too.
Well, yeah, because I feel
Then
like
you
the
know
next
it's still
day.
good.
Exactly. So it's like that's actually what I had
It
for
won't
dinner
go
last
bad.
night was
Yeah.
popcorn. Popcorn and a double shot of Japanese whiskey.
Well,
That
you
was
know
my
what?
dinner.
I think we've made it. I think this is a success. Our life right now, we have, freedom to catch up during the day. We can eat whatever we want. We don't have don't have back-to-back meetings right now.
I
We're
know.
successful, Danielle. We're
Yes,
happy.
I do feel like the time and space that you and I both have, we get to work with people who we want to work with, be
Mhm.
in meetings that we want to be in,
Yes.
right? We can pick and choose. So I definitely feel like that. And my girls are thankfully talking to me. Like, they want to hang out with me.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
happy. I mean, I think happiness is a good indication of success.
totally.
Um, the real success, not
Hmm.
the on paper success.
Yeah. Well, how do we talk more about the journey?
Hmm.
Something that also, when you had mentioned this topic today, I was thinking like years ago, remember when Matt Lauer, he was on, what
Hmm.
was it, the Today Show or
Today
something?
Show. Yeah.
And he was showing these photos of Sarah Jessica Parker. She
Okay.
had just given birth 6 weeks prior. I don't
Okay.
know if you remember this, but it was like big news at the time, or maybe I was
Hmm.
just inflating it. But I saw it and it was Sarah Jessica Parker with a six pack. I mean, she was looking seductive, gorgeous, amazing. And he kept saying, this is 6 weeks after she gave birth. Oh my gosh, like eyes bulging. And I just wanted to say, you know what, Matt Lauer, F you. Yes, she does look incredible, but at what cost?
Yeah.
I
Mm.
mean, 6 weeks after I gave birth, I still look pregnant,
Oh my gosh.
right?
Yeah.
Nursing, I mean, I was in pajamas. There's no way I'm like hiring a personal trainer. And the time that it takes to develop
Mhm.
your abs like that, it is
Mhm.
not, 30 minutes a day of working out.
No,
And you're
that's a
just
good point.
recovering from the whole
Hmm.
process of pregnancy and giving birth. But it was so celebrated that I don't know, it's still
Shame
like,
on them.
20
Yeah.
something years later, I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah, you still remember it. Yeah, it's like, what are we celebrating? You know how,
Mm.
in the workplace, how a lot of times people would be celebrated when they were on a call during their vacation, you know?
Ugh.
They're like, oh, and kudos to so and so for calling in from Mexico. And I'd be like, why would we celebrate that? I feel sorry for you right
Yeah,
now.
exactly. I
I'm
don't
not
know.
celebrating you for calling in on your vacation. That's just sad.
Yeah. How much fear do you have where you can't step
Mhm.
away? And
Yeah,
especially as a leader, I feel like if you have to be in everything, you haven't set up your team up in a way that can
yeah.
function
You haven't set
without
your
you.
team up. You also probably, it's actually probably your ego just thinking that you're so important that you have to be there
Yeah,
when in reality you're not that important.
that's
Like
right. We're
you
all
don't need to be there.
dispensable. Yeah,
Hmm.
dispensable, replaceable.
Yep. Yep. But it is really interesting what is celebrated when
Yeah.
people work really long hours to finish a project. And I think, and there's a difference, there's a fine line between being grateful for someone and celebrating them in a toxic way, you know?
Hmm.
And so, and I don't know because it's hard because when you show your gratitude when someone works really, really hard and long on something, then that reinforces to them because everyone likes to be like valued,
Yeah.
to be appreciated. People like to
Hmm.
be appreciated. So when you show your appreciation and your gratitude for someone calling in on their vacation or working, tons of extra hours and nights to get some presentation done, that is just going to instill in that person that that's what's required to be appreciated. And that's what's wrong with corporate culture, I think,
Hmm.
today. That's part of the reason why corporate culture is toxic. I think we celebrate the wrong things.
How can we celebrate then? Like, hey, you took all your PTO. Yay.
I
Or
know.
like,
Well, I mean, I think someone who takes all their PTO, my guess is they're going to have a really good year. Like their results are going to be good because they've taken breaks and they've recharged and they have a balance of work and personal life and connection. Because usually when you're taking PTO, you're maybe going on vacation or something with
Mhm.
friends or family, or you're doing something fun. So you're filling all these different cups in your life that are important to you. And so, someone who doesn't take any vacation is probably burnt out, and their results are probably not as great, because you're not doing your best work when you're like that. You're just getting things done and staying above water. And so I think if someone takes their PTO, their work was probably good. So it's about, recognizing, what someone accomplished
Mhm.
and noting the fact that they also took all of their PTO so that people start to see the correlation.
Yeah.
Because it is an and. I think, the misconception is that people that aren't at work aren't getting things done.
Hmm.
When in reality, you have to take care of yourself to do your best work. You have to have, different outlets, and you get your creativity that way. You get inspiration, you get reignited. Even for me, when I write my newsletter, I'm always writing it in multiple drafts. I have the same process of creating anything that I had when I was in sixth grade. I always, whether I was working on an essay or a presentation for work, any presentation that I've done for work, I follow the same system as I do when I'm writing my newsletter. My first draft, I always start with pen and paper, always. I always start with physical paper and a pen, and I'll write like Monday Mindset, week 37, and I'll think about what topic, and I'll put a draft title down. And
Mm-hmm.
then when I have the title, I brain dump all the ideas that I have about that title. And it's just a mishmash of ideas, bullet points, sometimes sentence form, sometimes part sentence, part brainstorm. Sometimes this is in my journal at night, but usually it's in my notebook, my work notebook. Then I put it away. And then I come back to it another time with, having done different things and getting inspired by something I heard. And then I go back and then I start on the computer and then I start my first draft in Notability. I've used this Notability note-taking app for years. And I have it on my iPad and my Mac, and they sync. So if I do it on my iPad, it'll sync to my Mac and whatnot. So I start off and then I transfer everything that was on the paper into Notability, and then it's in paragraph form at this point. And
Mm-hmm.
then I leave it. And then I go and do other things. And with the thought of what the topic is in the back of my mind, and I look for other inspiration or other ideas that I come up with, then I come back to it for another draft and I refine it. And I've always done that. And I do think it's like this combination of being in it and then being out of it and then being in it again is what
Mm-hmm.
creates the best work. And that can be at the macro level or the micro level. I think work in general, if you work all day without any breaks, you won't be able to be as creative of a problem solver or be as present or as focused. Because when I come back to my thing, I can be very focused, because I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten something to drink, gone to the bathroom, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But if I was just working straight through and tried to get all of my drafts done in one go, it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to be as good. And so I think that's just a good rule of thumb for all of life. And so I think what we have to do is we need people that will honor their boundaries. We need managers that encourage people to work reasonable hours and take their vacations and then get the results that I know will come with that. And then when you celebrate the results, you make sure to note how they were achieved, what the process was.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't late nights. It wasn't pulling all-nighters. It wasn't the whole team not taking vacation for a year.
Yeah.
It wasn't all that. Um, and then when people start to see the correlation, then it will be
Mm-hmm.
replicated more, I think.
I love that. I love being able to showcase the how and the process too, and just to learn a little bit about how you had been
Mhm.
working ever since you were a kid. How cool is that? That
Yeah,
you
it's
would take
been
a
the
step
same.
away.
It works for me. It works for
Yeah.
me.
Well, that's how a lot of my ideas come when I'm working out or I'm in my body.
Mhm.
So I love whether it's going for a walk, but it is that stepping away and
Mhm.
then coming back to it. And like you, I do feel like my best work is when I'm not trying to grind it out
Yeah.
in one day, but I have the time and space to come back to it, to leave it, to bring a new perspective, some new
Mhm.
ideas, come back to it
Mhm.
again. Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe it's also
Yeah.
building in that timeline of creativity at work too. But
Yeah. Thinking time, creative time.
yeah.
There's just I think, some really good practices that for someone that's not used to it, it's going to seem counterintuitive. Like, I think a lot of people think you'll be more productive the more you're working.
Mm-hmm.
When essentialism, Greg McKeown's book, Essentialism, will tell you productivity, first of all, if you want to be, the idea of being productive is like having a lot of output, right?
Mm-hmm.
You will get the most output when you say no to more things,
Mm-hmm.
which sounds so counterintuitive. But if you say no and you focus on a few things as opposed to trying to do 11 things at once and get a whole bunch of things done, you actually aren't going to be as quote unquote productive if you're
Hmm.
working in that way. So you need to say no to a lot of things and only focus on the right things to be working on.
Yeah.
And also having that healthy approach to, tackling the problem at hand.
Hmm.
Um, so I just think that there's a new way to work, and many of us have experimented with it and have had results. So I think we need more leaders that model it and teach their teams how to work that way
Hmm.
so
And
that there can be a
celebrate.
broader shift in corporate culture.
Right, right. I
Hmm.
love Greg McKeown's book, and I was
Hmm.
so grateful that you had brought that up again too at Van City. So I was re-listening to that
Yeah.
book and his message, and something that he often says is like you're going to have to say no to things that you want to actually do too.
Yes.
Often
It's
I would
not
think
just
like,
saying no to the things that are obviously a no. You
right.
actually have to say no to things that are a good idea or things that you do want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of great ideas out there and there's a lot of interesting projects to work on and interesting priorities to add to a list.
Right.
So you have to say no to things that you want to do as
Yeah.
well and be willing to do that.
Well, I'm wondering to close, since we're talking about Greg McKeown, what's your one priority
Hmm.
this year?
Hmm. My one priority is my health, my
Mm,
physical and mental health. Yeah, that's my one priority.
yeah.
And I try to come back to that as much as I can and just make sure that every day I'm doing just one thing, even if it's little, like drinking more water.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's little, I every single day I do one thing that honors that as my priority. Sometimes it's getting to bed earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's going to work out. Sometimes it's saying no to the donut. Sometimes it's listening to a meditation. Sometimes it's a lot of things. Some days I have a lot of things where I feel like I've done a lot in service of this priority,
Mm-hmm.
but I celebrate even the littlest thing.
Yeah, that's so
What
good.
about you? Do you have one priority?
I think it's the same. Health,
Really?
physical, and well, I feel like without it, I mean, first of all, I'm a total
Mm.
wimp. So if I have a headache, then it ruins my entire day. So then I think, oh my gosh, how valuable health actually is, and I
Yeah.
need to really take care of it. So, but I
Mhm.
love this celebrating it and doing one, even if it's just one small thing.
Mhm.
Because I was thinking about yesterday and my binge watching of Bad Sisters. I did go on a short walk.
There you go. There you go.
I did do that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. And that's the thing is just because it's the consistency of it that then tells you it is a priority.
Hmm.
Because we can say something's a priority, but if your actions aren't reflecting it, then it's not an actual priority. That's just words on
Absolutely.
paper, you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I just try to make sure that my actions are reflecting it.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Amazing.
thanks, Danielle. That was a fun topic.
I know. Thanks, Janelle.
And here's to redefining success
Hmm.
for all the women out there. I think it's solely needed, a new definition of success. And I think we're still writing it, but we're getting there. So that's good.
Absolutely. Thanks, Janelle.
Thanks, Danielle.
I'll see you
Bye.
later.
See you.